Good morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. Okay, students are joining now. We'll wait. Please let me know if my voice is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody? My voice is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Right. So many participants. There are 109 participants. How many of you? How many of you now?
146 minutes.
146. Okay, what about the remaining 36 students? All the students are regularly they are joining in lectures and practicals. Okay, I know that it's a bit hard to continuously joining in the lectures through the online. So from the home, we are staying in home, and somehow you want to join and you want to learn, right? Because I think coming November, the faculties will start and you will be physically present. Okay, shall we start? Or shall I wait for those 36 students? Regularly, how many students are joining for lectures?
Approximately 130.
130. So now 18 is, no?
Yes.
Okay, just leave a message in your group to join them in lectures. Right? So we'll start. What's the time now? 10:18. Okay, 3 minutes left. So from my side, so what you have studied from Professor Trikumar's lectures in the cell biology and crop botany. So in the cell biology, there are theories, right? So crop botany, you are covering in the practicals, isn't it? So please answer me, respond me. I will ask questions in the lecture. So please cooperate with me. So don't keep your phone switch on and don't go away. Right? Just be here. I'm not going to rush you. Just very simply, I'm going to move. Right? So what I think you have covered from Professor Trikumar's lectures.
Bacteria, virus,
Bacteria, virus, yeah.
plant cell and animal cells,
Plant cell, animal cell,
cell wall,
cell wall.
DNA replication.
DNA.
Okay. So hereafter, we will discuss about the cell organelles and cell division. Right. If we have more time, we will go further. Right? So first today, we are going to see about the cell. Right? So you already studied these things in your A level, in your own mother tongue, whether it's Tamil or Sinhala. Some students have studied in English medium. Right? So in your opinion, what do you know about cell?
Basic unit of living things.
Basic unit of living things.
Recording in progress.
Okay, one person said cell is a basic unit of living things. Any other opinions or ideas?
Can't see with naked eye.
Can't see with naked eye. Okay. Is it true or is it okay to all the cells? Can you see none of the cell with naked eye?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So what's the reason? Who said no and tell the reason?
We can't see some cells like egg.
Yeah, good. Any others?
All organisms made one or more cells.
All organisms made one or more cells. Okay, we'll discuss this point. Right, one or more cells. Any other?
The
Please give
smallest,
your ideas.
the smallest structural and functional unit of
Smaller structural and functional unit. Okay. Any others?
All cells come from pre-existing cells.
Yeah, good. So all cells come from pre-existing cells, right? So these things we are going to discuss further. Just I want to know, so what do you know? And please open up, right? Then only you can get familiar. Okay, right. So we'll have some brief introduction to the cells, right? The cell is the fundamental unit of life, right? So all the life activities are carried out by cells, and we can say the organisms are classified based on the number of cells present in them. So we can categorize them, the organism, or we can classify it. So you have studied the crop botany. So from the crop botany, you are having some plant groupism and that classification, family, those things we have studied. So here the cells, the organisms also can be classified based on the number of cells. So before moving into the lectures, please keep a paper or please keep a note and pen or pencil with you. And some other things I will explain and then which is not present in the slides. Right? It's better you have notes, right? Right? So one person said that single or more number of cells. So we can say unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Right? So unicellular organisms are single cell, while the multicellular organisms have a huge number of cells. Right? Right? So unicellular organisms are believed to be one of the earliest forms of the life on Earth. Right? So and also that eventually the more complex multicellular organisms evolved from these unicellular life forms over these eons. Right? So the basic one thing is earlier there is a unicellular organism. From that, it's that multicellular organisms are developed. So this is some cell theory. So under this cell theory, there are some cell theories, right? So do you know any other cell theories? Do you know any other cell theories? You can say your opinion. I can correct. Yes, one person said.
All cells arise from pre-existing cells by itself.
Yeah. So already your person said, and this person also saying that cells are forming from already existing cells, right? They are not creating newly. So one is creating from already existed cells. Any other idea?
Cells are the basic structural and functional unit of organism.
Okay, cells are the basic functional unit of organism. Okay.
Cells.
Yes.
All the organisms composed of one or more cells.
Organism composed of one or more cells, isn't it? You said that.
Yes, ma'am.
Summary of cell theory. So all organisms are made up of one or more cells, and the cell is the basic unit of all organisms. This is the basic cell theory. We will see what is a cell, right? And the cell, the word comes from the small room, right? The word cell means it's small rooms. Cell means small room, cells, small rooms, right? So it is the smallest unit of life that can replicate independently. That means it can be multiply or replicate independently, right? And cells are often referred to as the building block of life, and also we can known as the cell, we can call it as the building blocks of life. And we can say that without cells we would not have life, isn't it? And all living things are made up of at least one cell, right? These are some things related with cells, right? So if we talk history of cell, so what is the history behind the cell discovery? Who discovered first? Yes. So as in the slides, you can say the Robert Hooke. So in the mid of 16th, that means around 1665, right? He discovered the cell, right? And he looked at the Hawk under a microscope and noticed there are some structures similar to small rooms, right? Then he told that those small rooms, it's like a row of empty boxes, right? So when he observed, he showed that row of empty boxes, and finally he coined the term cell, right? According to his observation. Then after that, around the 1674, Anton von Leeuwenhoek. So he saw that first living cell. So when we talk about the Robert Hooke, what's the difference between Robert Hooke and Anton Leeuwenhoek observation? That Robert Hooke observed the dead cells, right? So he only see the cell wall and none of the cells internal structures. So he showed the dead plant cells. But in the observation of Anton Leeuwenhoek, he showed that first living cells under the microscope, and he described as that alga ideas explain and observe. Right? So from his descriptions, he said that there are some structures is inside the cells because he observed the living cells, right? Later in 80s, that Swan and Matthias Hedel, right? So those people made a research that Swan has studied about the structure of animals. He studied the animal cell, and Matthias, he observed the plant cell, right? So both are worked separately, and around the 1838, the both of them compared their results and show that their research had a lot of similarities. Then they concluded that all living things are made up of cells. So from their observation, they said this, right? So finally they had said some other conclusion, they said the cell is a unit of structure, physiology, and organization of living things, and means dual existence as a distinct entity and a building block of the construction of organisms. So these are the things they have suggested from their research studies. So altogether, from these Theodor Swan and the Matthias Leiden, they confirm that all living things are made up of cells. And later, 50 years later, from that 50 years later, that Rudolf, so he said all cells come from pre-existing cells, right? So that he, for his study, he took the base study as this one and Sladen study, and then from that he said every cells are basic that history of development of cells, right? Okay, right here cell size. So we can say not all the cells observe the same purpose, right? So as the same size or shape. So that means that cells can be vary in size, vary in shapes, right? So according to the structure, when we talk about the structure, it may be vary in shape and size. Here you can observe different sizes of some cells. See here, this hen's egg, that is 65 millimeter. Can you observe through the naked eye? This one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. So some of the cells we can see through our naked eye, right? So that nowadays popular topic. What is the size of coronavirus? See, the HIV virus size is 100 nanometer. So polio virus size is 30 nanometer, right? So what about the cell size of coronavirus? 9 nanometer. Any others? Is it 9 nanometer? No, any idea? Okay, go and refer the size of coronavirus cell. And do you think that N95 is working against to filtering the coronavirus according to the size I'm talking? Yeah, HI mark. The person said it's some 50 to 140 nanometer. Yes, it's around, it's average around 120 nanometer, right? So that means that N95, it's not 100%ly, it's filtering, it can't filter the coronavirus according to the size. You can realize, so go and search the size of coronavirus, and also search about the N95 mask, the filter size, right? So this all regarding the cells. So if you want further ideas, you can go through that. Right? So cell types. Have you studied the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, I'll just summarize the things because you already studied those things. So if we see about the eukaryotes, so this is the first cell type on Earth. And for example, cell type of bacteria and archaea, and no membrane bound nucleus. And this nucleoid mean the region of DNA concentration, and there is no organelles bound membrane, that organelles which are bound by membrane. So these things we will discuss in future, but later classes, right? And if we talk about the eukaryotic cells, so we can say the nucleus bound by membrane, right? So we will see what are those, and we have some explanation on that, right? And it's including that eukaryotic cells, including fungi, protista, plant, and animal cells, and also many organelles. That means it consists of many organelles within the cells, right? Okay, so before moving to next, so we will see that animal cells and plant cells, right? So do you think, or have you any thought about why these plants and animals are varied, and in the structure wise, in the functional wise, those are varied? How it's happened? That how it's occurred? So, in an ecosystem, we can say the plants have the role of producers, but while the animals have taken the role of consumers, right? Have you think how it's happened, and the daily the plants and animals also activities and functions are varied. So we can say the basic things, the cell structure and organelles vary in plants and animals, right? And also they are primarily classified based on their functions. The according to these, the difference in the cell structure also can lead to this result. In difference between the cell has the important part in this occurrence, right? So we'll see that the animal cells. Can you see that the animal cell parts? So here we can see that nucleus. This is nucleus, and here we can see this area is endoplasmic reticulum, the centrioles, microtubules, and this is the plasma membrane, and here Golgi apparatus. So this is the animal cell parts, right? So when we talk about the plant cells, so we can see some of the words we didn't see from that image, the animal cells, but here one is different chloroplast and cell wall. Have you seen these things in the animal cells? So somewhat in the structure they have some difference. So we'll see those. So here we can say the special cell organelles which are present in plant cells. Which are the organelles is differentiate the plant cells from the animal cells. Alright. So here from this diagram we can conclude that this side, right, plant cells only the consisting of parts, and this side animal cells. So this center parts which is occur in both plant and animal cells. So here in plant cells we have cell wall, large vacuole. So please note that large vacuole, and chloroplast and flagella only in gametes, right? Flagella present only in gametes in plant cells, and in the animal cells there is no cell walls, right? And another thing, so there may be a small vacuole or the absence of vacuole, right? So we can say there may be small, it's rare, it happens rarely, and no chloroplast. And in animal cells we can find the flagella, right? The both plant and animal cells consist of mitochondrion, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, both rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and nucleus, cytoplasm, and ribosomes. Right, these are common for both plants and animal cells. Right, so this is about the differentiation between plants and animal cells. Next, we will move one by one. We will see the cell membrane. So, what do you think about the cell membrane?
Plasma membrane.
It's not clear. Can you please repeat?
Plasma membrane.
Plasma membrane. Yes. So, cell membrane, also known as plasma membrane. Any others? What do you think about the cell membrane? So, here you can see. So, it's a spherical shaped shell, and it's like a outer coat, this yellow color. It's like a peel. Can you realize that one? It's like a peel. If we observe the peel, that plasma membrane as well as known as the cell membrane. So if we observe further, it's like a if we peel off that orange, what will happen? Like that, we can imagine that plasma membrane, right? And if we observe, it's clearly through that it's like a layer, right? So it's like a layer. See, it's like a layer, the upside and downside. Now we talk about this upside and downside. Something it's like similar. Both sides similar, and there are some protein molecules and some carbohydrate chains. Right now, if we talk about this is outside, right? If it is this one is outside of the cell, if this is inside, right? This is inside. This is outside. So we can observe the outside of this cell plasma membrane and the inside of the cell plasma membrane. So we will further discuss about the cell membrane. Right? So cell membrane. So we can say the cell membrane already we told that it's known as the plasma membrane, and it is a thin semi-permeable membrane, right? Thin semi-permeable. Permeable means it will allow some substances go through that, right? But that semi means partially, right? You want to remember the semi permeable membrane, right? That surrounds the cytoplasm, right? Which is surround the cytoplasm. You can imagine like a orange. So that orange peel is surround outer side. Like that, this plasma membrane is there. Just for imagination, right? It's surrounding the cytoplasm of a cell, right? Each cells have the cell membrane, right? The cell membrane is primarily composed of mixed proteins and lipids, right? If we see about the functions of the cell membrane, we can say that filtered function, right? There are several functions, so we will see the filtered function. That means main functions, that it protect the cell. First thing, it's protect the cell, right? And it lets the food, oxygen, and water in the cell. So that means it allowed to transport. That already we said it's a semi-permeable membrane, right? So it lets mean it is allowed to go moving the food, oxygen, and water in the cell, and also it lets the waste. So something, the needed things want to come inside of the cell. The unwanted waste or foreign material want to go away from the cell, so go out from the cell. So and also it's allowed to leave the waste from the cells, right? It's like a gate, right? So moving. So that the plasma membrane, we can say this is the selective barrier, right? It's mean selective barrier. Already we have told that it's a thin semi permeable, and now we are telling the selective barrier, which means it will allow to pass some certain substances. Only it will select, right? So it will select the wanted material or wanted substances, only it will allow to pass. And also not only allowing the things, the substances to pass, the responsibility of cell membrane, it need to prevent the other substances, that unwanted or foreign substances to enter. It need to prevent, right? So it allows some certain substances to pass through it, and also prevent some substances to pass through it, right? So allow and prevent, both what it's doing. So it's a selective barrier. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then we can say this cell membrane is found in both plant cells and animal cells, right? Okay. Now we will see the composition of plasma membrane. So we can say the plasma membrane composed of four different types of molecules, right? So we can say the phospholipids, cholesterol, protein, carbohydrates, right? So the cholesterol. So cholesterol is another lipid component of animal cell membranes, and the cholesterol molecules are selectively dispersed between membrane phospholipids. That means they are selectively dispersed. If it is outer side of membrane, the plasma membrane layer, it's selectively dispersed, right? So in the plasma membrane phospholipids and glycolipids. What is glycolipids? What do you mean by glycolipids?
Carbohydrate plus lipid carbohydrate.
Yes, carbohydrate plus lipids. That means lipids with the carbohydrate attachment. So how this attachment is forming? What's the bond is there? between the lipid and how they are connected? Anybody? That glycolipids, already you told, the lipids plus carbohydrate. How they are become together or how they are occurring together?
Carbohydrate chains connected into the phosphate membrane.
Yes. That bonds, glycosidic bonds, right? Through the glycosidic bonds, the lipids and carbohydrates are having some attachment. So these glycolipids are located on here. Those are located in the cell membrane surfaces and have a carbohydrate sugar chain which is attached to them. Then these carbohydrate sugar chain will help the cell to recognize other cells or other cell bodies, right? So be clear, this plasma membrane consists of these glycolipids and phospholipids, cholesterol, protein, carbohydrates, and also each and every composition, each and every part have some different functions, right? Under these glycolipids also have some sugar chain, which these sugar chains will help to recognize, right? It's like a monitor, right? It's having some recognition of other cells and other parts of these cells. So it's which is help to identify, right? So this is all about the glycolipids. There are, if you want to study about the glycolipids, there are glycolipids, their metabolism, structure, function. There are more things are there. So for this, in the basic cell biology, this is enough for you, right? If anybody has any curiosity to study furthermore, I can suggest more and more, right? So for this class, it's enough, right? So next, the phospholipids, basic structure of the cell membrane, right? We can say, so already we have that the plasma membrane composed of these four molecules, and now the thing, phospholipids. These phospholipids are the basic structure of a cell membrane, and it has two ends, right? That means it has there are two ends. They named one end as a head, one end as tail, right? So because it has two ends, and the head end contains a phosphate group, right? So this head end contains a phosphate group and is hydrophilic, right? Hydrophilic means it's attracted to water, right? So that's mean water, it will, this end will attract to water. That means it will allow to water molecule movement, right? And another end, already it's named as tail, and it's made up of two strings of hydrogen and carbon atoms, right? The head end is contains phosphate group and also it's hydrophilic, and tail end have two strings of carbon atoms and hydrogen, right? So and also it's called as fatty acid chain, right? So which is called as the, which end is having fatty acid chain? Head end or tail end? Tail end. And that these chain, so normally that, if so from the word fatty acid, we can say it's like oil. So therefore remembering, so you can see that these chains are hydrophobic means it's repel the water molecule, right? That's mean. For example, can you mix the oil and water together? It will mix.
No, ma'am.
Can you mix soda and water?
Yes.
Yes. So this is the basic concept behind this, right? Head is hydrophilic, so it is attracted to water molecule, and tail end is hydrophobic. It's repelled to water molecule, right? So you should be clear on this. And if you have any doubts, please ask me. You can unmute and you can talk, right? And the phospholipids of cell membranes are arranged in double layer. So already in the image we shown that it's a double layer. So when we see that image, it's upside also same structure, downside also same structure we have observed in the image, right? So that is called as lipid bilayer. Bi means two, right? Di, those things meanings two, right? And the hydrophilic phosphate heads are always arranged so that they are near to water. So already we know the hydrophilic is attracted to water, so it's arranged in two sides. That's creating the bilayer structure, right? So because here also head, here also head. Then we can say if the head is here and it's attracted, they are telling water. So if it is water molecule here, head is here. But then this part have tail. Then this side head is here. Then the tail will arrange like this because it has two strings, right? So it creating bilayer, right? So this is the formation of the phospholipid bilayer, right? And the watery fluids are found both sides, both inside of the cell or outside of the cell. So we know the both outside and inside. So the liquid, the watery liquid which is found inside of the cell, it's known as intracellular fluid. Please remember, we will talk about this in later classes, right? So the watery fluids are found in the inside of the cell is intracellular fluid. Right? And outside of the cell, that water liquid, that fluid is found outside of the cell. It's known as extracellular fluid. Please remember. So for this, I told please keep a note. So when I'm telling the important things, you can note it. I will send the PowerPoint slide to you. It doesn't matter. But when you are studying, if you take your own notes, it will help to improve yourself in a particular subject. Not only for my subject, you can you can use for other subject also, right? And the hydrophobic tails of membrane, the phospholipids are recognized in a manner that keep them away from water. That's why these are inside. See, so these are away from water. That means that hydrophobic tail membrane phospholipids are organized in a manner. So in this manner, it's organized, which will help to keep them away from water, right? So now you can see this image, and so far we have discussed something. You can see and observe, right? See here, this is this head part, right? Heads, and these are the tails, how they arrange. And when they are arranging, see in the 3D dimension, it's creating a layer, arranging, joining and creating layer. And also in between the phospholipid layer, there are some protein molecules, right? So it's suspended and submerged condition, there are some protein molecules. Right? Okay, we have 15 minutes more. Okay, so this is a simple example for your phospholipids, that lipid in the cell membrane are amphipathic. What is amphipathic? Yes, right. So this is a head part, and this means hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail. Right. So these are some image for you for your further explanations and your knowledge. Right. So see, I already told that intracellular fluid and extracellular fluid. So this is the outside of cell. So this is inside of cells, right? So here outside of the cell fluid is known as extracellular fluid. Inside of the cell fluid is known as intracellular fluid, right? So this is some overview. And next we will discuss about the cell membrane protein. So the cell membrane contains two types of associated protein. So we can categorize peripheral membrane protein, integral membrane protein. Right? The peripheral, the name as it explains, peripheral, that's exterior. Right? So those are exterior and transiently connected to the membrane by interaction with other protein. Transiently, that means what is transiently? That is pass with time. It's not permanent, right? That peripheral, it's outside, the exterior side, it's connected transiently, right? Transiently, it's connected to membrane. That means with the time it will pass. It's not permanent in a particular location, right? Another one, integral membrane protein, right? That are inserted. See, inserted into the membrane and most pass through the membrane, right? So they are inserted, and also some of the integral membrane protein are passed through the membranes, right? It's somewhat it permanent than the peripheral membrane protein, right? And also it has some different functions. According to this one is according to the structure, the peripheral and integral. According to the structure, we have divided. According to the functions, we can say structural protein, which is help for the formation of structure, and receptor protein, which is receiving the signals and other molecules, and transport protein, that means which proteins helps to transportation, right? And another one is glycoprotein. What is mean by glycoprotein? We already discussed glycolipid. Now here we are talking about glycoprotein. That's
Carbohydrate plus protein.
carbohydrate plus protein. So that means glycans which are attached to the amino acids with the side chain. So those are known as glycoproteins. Normally, that glycans are able to attach with amino acids as well as the lipids. Right? Why it has that ability? Glycans have that ability. Why? So that already we have discussed that glycans are attached to lipids and creating glycolipids. Now we're talking about the glycoprotein. That's we are telling glycans are attached to amino acids and it's creating glycoprotein. How it's happening? How the glycans are able to join with both lipid and amino acids?
It has a bond, glycosidic bond.
Yes, it has a bond As it is, it's a polysaccharide. And what's the name of bond that creating the bond process? Can you say how the bond creating a process of bond formation? This glycosidic bond formation. Any idea? What?
Elimination takes place.
It's not clear. Come again.
Content.
Elimination takes place. Removal of water molecule.
Removal of water molecules. There are some the particular process name. Anybody?
Condensation.
Do you know this? Do you know this? Glycosylation. Okay, so please refer this one. Next class I will ask. Okay, now until now, do you have any doubts? No, any doubts?
No.
Okay. So now we will move towards the permeability of cell membrane, right? So from this image, you can come to some conclusions. See here, this arrows is indicating the movement, right? See here, the macromolecules couldn't pass, isn't it? Macromolecules. And the non-charged molecules are passing. See, those are passing. The water molecules also passing. And charged molecules and ions are, it's not passing, right? So here we can see. And there are some categories in the transport, molecule movements and cells. So passive transport, active transport, endocytosis and exocytosis. So what's the time now? 11:07. So shall I continue until 11:15 or shall I stop now and continue in later classes? Okay, continuously it's difficult. So I will stop here for today's lectures and I'm going to ask some questions, right?
Recording stopped.
Okay. Anybody, volunteer person, please list out what are the things we have studied today. Anybody? If you want to test yourself, please come front and list out the things.
So what is the cell? Cell theory.
Yes.
History of cell.
Yes.
Cell size.
Hmm.
Type of cells.
Hmm.
Animal cell and plant cell. What are the organs in their cells?
Hmm.
Differentiate plant cell from animal cells.
Good.
Cell membranes. What is the cell membranes? Different type molecules in their cell membranes.
Okay, good. Sadhanika. Is it right?
Sadhanika.
Sadhanika. Okay, good. So keep it up. And any other students? Can you say what we have studied under the cell membrane today? Okay. Navodi Taxila. If I pronounce your name wrongly, so forgive me, I will learn later. Right? Navodi Taxila, are you there? So my lectures will be that both. I expect both side interaction. It's not one side communication. I need two side communication from you also. And Akila Arafat. Akila Arafat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So please tell me What do you learn today regarding the cell membrane phospholipid bilayer?
Today in cell membrane, cell wall, cell membrane we studied. It is a semi-permeable membrane, and it allows food, oxygen, and water, and it releases waste, and it is a selective barrier.
Yes.
And the plasma membrane contains phospholipid, cholesterol, proteins, carbohydrates.
Good.
Phospholipids means it consists of a head and tail structure. The head part consists of phosphate, and the tail part consists of fatty acid chain, which is made out of.
Thank you. Good. And Danya.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it? Okay. I will say one statement. You want to say if it is correct, you can say it's correct. Otherwise, you want to recorrect and tell again. Right? Okay. Danya, either I'm
Yes,
calling
ma'am.
randomly. Right. Okay. So the in the phospholipid bilayer, the hydrophobic heads which are attracted to water molecule.
It's true, ma'am.
It's true. Any others? It's true.
No, ma'am.
Hydrophilic.
Hydrophilic.
Then tell again that sentence.
Head is attract to water, which is known as hydrophilic.
Yes. So I want to test you guys whether you are clear. I hope from your answers, I'm happy you are clear. Okay, thank you. So please send a message in chat room whether my lecture speed and explanation is okay for you, and I want to improve any things for your speed and other things. Please leave a message in chat room. And thank you. So I'm going to wind up today's lectures. We will meet in next class. Have a great day.
Thank you.